Question number 11, Tracey Martin.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister for Tertiary Education, Skills and Employment, does he have confidence in the tertiary education sector?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, overall yes, particularly as the over 730 tertiary education providers in the sector delivered something like 163,000 qualifications in 2014. It's been up 31,000 on 2008, including 29,000 bachelor's degrees, up 4,500 on 2008. I'm also confident that the monitoring agencies for the sector are now more robustly investigating any concerns at any time in its history.
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
To the Minister, what action, if any, has his government taken to remove fraudulent and corrupt education agents in countries such as India since this issue was raised in oral questions by New Zealand First in December 2015?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, I can't recall the details of that discussion in December 2015, but I'm likely to have told the member that there's been a number of changes over the last few years. The most recent one has been the requirement for IELTS in India. There has been significant work done to monitor the issues that are periodically raised in some of the countries that international students come from. That's an ongoing job because there are always issues and there's always occasionally education agents that don't behave themselves in dealing with New Zealand providers.
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
How confident is he, in light of the increase in Tier 1 providers able to process visas, that all of the 85,000 plus international students granted residency since 2008 did so with legal documentation?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
I'm not sure that the member's correct. They don't get granted residency. No, there's simply not a case where people get a student visa, it automatically gives them residency. In terms of processing applications, applications are processed under the close supervision of the Immigration Department. In terms of any details around those visas, she might like to put the question down to the Minister of Immigration.
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
Thank you.
Order. Tracey
To the
Martin,
Minister,
supplementary question.
how can he be confident in the tertiary education sector when his office knows of at least one tertiary institution that had a list entitled Need to Upgrade to Pass, resulting in 18 international students being scaled from 32% fail to a 50% pass?
Yeah, come on.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, if the member would like to put that down in writing to me, I'd be more than happy to take it up with her.
Order. Order. If you want to hear the answer, allow the Minister to do so. It was a very general first question that was asked. The Minister's attempting to address it. If he doesn't have that information, I think on this occasion that's acceptable. Allow the Minister to complete his answer.
So again, for the member, if she'd like to put down that specific query to me in writing, I'd be more than happy to address it. NZQA, for example, has at any time around 30 to 40 investigations underway. If that's not one of them, if she supplies me the information, I'd be more than happy to follow it up.
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
How can he have confidence in the tertiary education sector when some providers have instructed teaching staff to not officially record ongoing achievement data for international students so that any changes needed to enable a final pass grade are not evident?
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, again, the member's making some fairly gross generalisations and accusations. If she has specific concerns, then I invite her to provide the details of those concerns so that they can be properly investigated. That's the process.
Point of order.
Point of order, Tracey Martin.
I seek leave to table an email to the Right Honourable Stephen Joyce's office outlining this situation with regard to a tertiary institution.
Order. I just need to inform the House of the author of the email and the date.
The author of the email is a gentleman inside those tertiary providers. I would redact that. And the date was on the 12th of last month.
Leave us all to table that particular email. Is there any objection? There is none. It can be tabled.
Supplementary?
Supplementary question, Tracey Martin.
Does the Minister understand that any perception of fraud, corruption and exploitation of international students will have long-term negative consequences for both those students and our country? And what is he doing about it?
Nothing.
The Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, yes, I am probably acutely aware, as I've been the Minister in this area for some time, and while we have been developing and growing that industry, we've made a number of changes to the industry over that time. We've introduced, for example, education performance indicators, performance-linked funding, audits by the TEC, changes made to the Education Amendment Act, including the requirement that PDEs enrol international students must be signatories to a code of practice, the development of the EER system, bringing the ITP sector under the monitoring of NZQA, a whole range of things, and those things result in a very robust process. If the member has particular concerns, I invite her to provide them.
Question number 12.